some professor asked me to go through some books and old excavation reports to help him compile a talk he was to give. And I was surprised to see a small note or references in some of those books that Roman coins were found in the villages in South India, right in Coimbatore and Kongunadu and Pudukottai. And as a student, I was shocked. I just couldn't believe. We have all studied Roman history, we know Indian history, but how come Roman coins here, not Chora or Chera or Pandya? And then that led one to the other. My professor asked me to read more deeply, and it ended up with a PhD and a postdoctoral research and several years of more of further research and talks on this Rome-India contacts. And that is how this topic has come through today. I was given a wide choice, but I stuck to this topic because it's very topical for Coimbatore. It's a very rare and a very little known, rather not unexplored, but little explored aspects of archaeology. Even top archaeologists are not fully aware of this. Very few are aware, and definitely this topic, though it's very important, very interesting, it has not percolated to NCERT textbooks or other school textbooks, very casually mentioned in college textbooks, and definitely absent in the tourist guidebooks or in any tourist literature. Am I able to, or can you change it? How do I do?
Forward this one. This one, sir. This one is forward.
Okay.
This one is backward.
Okay, okay. Maybe I'll
Sir, wait, wait. On.
Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. So I put this slide because they were one of the latest sponsors of my latest researches on this subject. Okay. Sorry. I have put this slide mainly because they were one of my latest sponsors of this subject. And now the title Bharat Meets Rome was specially given for this literary festival. But then earlier I used to call it not very differently, the East Meets West. We are having a few non-picture slides, but then we'll quickly pass through them because I want you to enjoy the photographs or pictures, the sights more. It's a story, and I'm going to take you in the next 30-35 minutes on a long journey, a tour which I have done many times over in the last 20 years, a tour of the Roman trail in South India, starting from the Arabian Sea up to the Coromandel coast, starting from Muziris or Pattanam. Many of you have heard of that, the excavated site, and coming through Coimbatore, which was the hub of the trade, the Kongunadu region, the Vellalur, Budinattam, Pollachi, Sulur area, all sites in our own backyard, many of them almost a part of the Coimbatore city, and then going further eastwards to Erode, Kodumanal, Karur, and finally the coast, Kaveri, Pattinam, Arikamedu. And it's a long story, and we cover this journey as a tour, and most of the photographs are from the tour, and it's going to be a virtual tour, hopefully prompting you and sort of inspiring you to take the real physical tour, which we have done even under the banner of Coimbatore Intact many times, of course in the pre-pandemic era. And definitely the pandemic is gone, hopefully forever, and we can revive many of those things. And so it was mainly trade, economic exchange, but it did flow into cultural interactions and diplomatic exchanges. Believe it or not, there are references to our own Tamil Pandya kings in Latin literature of the 1st century CE in Europe. And there has been a close interaction. Augustus, the famous Roman king, sent gifts to the Pandya king, and the Pandya king reciprocated. And then, of course, to trace the history of the trade, how it all began, India's earliest contacts with the Western world was through the north, the land route. The Achaemenian rulers, Darius the Great, his invasion and his later the trade between India and Central Asia, followed by Alexander's famous invasion, which is all very well known in history, and the subsequent India-Greek trade, and Greeks coming and settling down in northwestern India, which includes today's Pakistan, and having a new settlement and a new dynasty called the Indo-Greeks, and so on. And the Silk Route or the Silk Road, which is very much on the news these days, was a famous trade route. Although the name is new, it refers to a trade route which linked China with Europe, Europe with the Far East, as they say. And silk was one, but not definitely neither the main nor the exclusive commodity of trade along that route. It was one of them, but then the route came to be called Silk Route, obviously alluding to the silk from China. And that was a long trade route stretching from China through West and Central Asia and going right up to Europe. And India was very much a part of the Silk Route. One branch of the Silk Route, we believe, during the Kushan times, went upwards from North India to join the Silk Route across Central Asia and further west. And just to put it in brief, at some point of time, the Silk Route slowly began to decline. There were many reasons. One reason we keep telling students is it had to pass through a kingdom called Bharatiya around Central Asia. And naturally, any trade caravan, foreign caravan passing through a kingdom had to pay toll taxes. And there was some difference of opinion between the Parthian king and the foreign traders. And suddenly he turned hostile and said no foreign trader could cross his territory. And that, even if the trade did not completely decline, definitely it saw a great decrease in the quantum of the commerce, and the affected party was more the people in Europe, the Greeks and their successors, the Romans. And they were needing things from the east, especially from South Asia, the spices and other things. They could not manage without that. So necessity being the mother of invention, they quickly began to work out if they can reach India through another route, avoiding Central Asia or Parthia, and they did work it out. And Puteoli or Puzzoli, which is in southern Italy, was a major port of call. And from there, they traced a new route to South Asia or India. And that was from Puteoli, they came to Alexandria, which is right in North Africa, on the northernmost part of Africa in Egypt. So ships came from Italy, or what we call the Mediterranean region, to Alexandria. From Alexandria, they unloaded the cargo, and the traders, they traveled on smaller ships or boats along the mighty river Nile, came to Central Africa, and they traveled upstream, mind you, and then they again disembarked, traveled by donkeys or camels with their cargo to one of the Red Sea ports on the eastern coast of Africa. Berenike was a famous port on this stretch, the biggest, the southernmost port on the East African coast. And Qusar al-Qadim or Leucos Limen both refer to the same site, another port, and so on. From these ports, they took different routes, either sailing across the coast of Arabia or straight through the Arabian Sea to either reach the upper western coast of India, Barigaza or Barukacha, where the river Narmada meets the Arabian Sea, or they came further south to one of the ports on the Malabar coast. And but most of the merchandise that they needed was clustered in and around Kongunadu. So from Malabar coast, they had to come to this part of the country, the Coromandel coast. And books say that was the most challenging part of the journey. Coming all the way from Puteoli to Malabar coast was not as difficult as traveling from Malabar coast to the Coromandel coast. The reason being circumnavigation of Kanyakumari or Cape Comorin, the southernmost peninsular tip of India, was considered too dangerous for two reasons. Shallow sea, many ships often sank, we hear of shipwrecks, and more challenging were the pirates. The pirates knew that the Roman ships were loaded with gold and other precious things, so they were waiting to plunder. And so, because of these threats, till the 1st century CE or even slightly later, circumnavigation of the Cape was avoided. They took the more difficult or treacherous route of traveling from the Malabar coast to the Coromandel coast via land, climbing up the Western Ghats at different locations, including Nilgiris, and climbing down the hill on the other side. It was forested land, as you all know, tiger and elephant country, but one ancient author beautifully put it, the tigers were far more reasonable than the pirates. So they would rather face the tigers than the pirates. So braving all that, they came, and this, our region, Vellalur, Pollachi, Budinattam, Coimbatore region. Coimbatore is a new city. It didn't exist as a city then. But then all the neighboring villages were thriving. Vellalur is mentioned even in Greek and Latin literature. And we have found Roman coins in all these places. And they came here, and from here they ventured further east via Kodumanal, which is near Erode, a famous archaeological site. They even touched Vijayamangalam, and then Kodumanal. Erode didn't exist, but I'm telling you more of Erode because it's the closest city to Kodumanal. And from Kodumanal they went to Karur, and from Karur they went to Kaveri Pattinam, and further north to Arikamedu. And then some sailors and ships, they even traveled to Sri Lanka and to an extent to Southeast Asia. But mostly all the merchandise from Southeast Asia and Sri Lanka came to South India, and so South India was the terminal point of the trade mostly. And this one, today the research has progressed to that extent that we are able to know when they started, when they went back, when this whole trade started and when it ended. One round trip voyage from Puteoli to Coromandel coast and back took 1 full year, 12 months. They started around March, April from Puteoli, came to Berenike by end May or June. They had to depend on the monsoon winds which blew in the southwest direction during summer, June to August. So they had to set sail along the direction of the winds on the Arabian Sea from the Red Sea on the East African coast to Malabar coast. And then they arrived in Kerala around September. Then they took over a month from September to cross the Western Ghats and come to our part of the country. And then they quickly finished their transactions here, trade and exchange, by mid-November. And then they had to again cross the Western Ghats, go to the Kerala ports, and go start their return voyage by December, when the relatively gentle northeast monsoon winds were blowing on the other direction, northeast, which was favorable for the ships to sail on that direction. And the same route from Malabar, they may stop at Lakkadoos or other islands on the way for rest and fuel. And then they had to go to Berenike on the Red Sea coast, and from there on donkeys and camel to the river Nile, from there on boats on the Nile to Alexandria and back to Puteoli. They'll reach Puteoli by March. And they say a sailor in maybe in a career of 30 years, he would have started his career at 30 and ended at 60, something like that. He would have traveled to India 15 times. It was a very, very difficult, dangerous voyage those days. But then many lives were lost. But yet they braved all that because it was a lucrative trade. And it was a very important phase of, to quote an American scholar, Richard Daniel de Puma, an international authority on this subject, it was one of the most important multi-commodity trade routes of the ancient world, one of the best examples of globalization and early cultural cross-fertilization. So that was it. This is a map giving you the major sites in South India, which I need not elaborate, but I am going to give you visual pictures of all of them. A more close-up view of the sites. Now, what were the trade goods? It was many. Basically, the Romans wanted more things from us than what we wanted from them. So the balance of trade was definitely in favor of India. We could dictate the terms of the trade. So that's something to our credit. And they were very much wanting our spices, mainly pepper. Pepper, their food was bland, and the moment they tasted the Indian pepper, they could flavor their meat and other diet with pepper, and so the demand for pepper increased. Besides pepper, which has been called black gold, we have instances where wars were fought for pepper, and the war tribute or the booty which the winning king demanded from the defeated king in Europe was Indian pepper. So pepper was so important, it was called the black gold. And so pepper, besides other spices like cardamom, nutmegs, cloves, over 30 spices from India. And then they wanted certain other things, textiles, both cotton and silk, ivory, tortoise shell, different types of wood, teak wood, rosewood, sandalwood, ebony, and so many other such things. And they even took peacocks from India, live peacocks, not the peacock feathers or anything like that. And they say some of the peacocks from South India formed a favorite pet for the ladies of the Roman aristocracy in Rome. And that influenced Roman art. We see peacocks on the frescoes in Rome, in the paintings. Peacock was definitely not known then in that part of the world. And how come artists have featured them on the paintings in Rome? Again, it's traced to the trade with India. What did India get in return? They say India did not need anything specific, but then we were scarce on certain things, metals, especially South India. We were fond of gold and silver, as we are now also, but we did not have enough deposits of gold and silver, especially in the southern part of the country. So this was an opportunity. Economists and economic historians say India insisted that the Romans pay in gold and silver for all that they took from here. So we got from them gold, silver, copper, antimony, and such other metals, and even lead to a limited extent. And we also got from them wine. India had learnt its own wine making. Wine is mentioned in Tamil literature of the Sangam period, but they say the Roman wine was far tastier and had a better flavor than the local brands. So there was a great demand for the Roman wine, and being an imported wine, it was more expensive than the local one, and only the kings and nobles could afford it. That's clearly mentioned in a Tamil poem. So clearly, it's never mentioned in the context of a wine consumed by the farmer or the carpenter. The Roman wine was reserved for the king and those close to him. And then, of course, we got some Roman glass vessels or bowls and cups and saucers and such things. Today, we have recovered them in archaeological sites in fragmentary, broken condition. And anyway, all this is what we got from Rome, but the list is very small compared to what we gave from here. Apart from all these, I forgot one more very important thing. We gave them gemstones. They wanted garnet, quartz, many other gemstones from India, including beryl, a bluish green stone, then found only in Padiyur or Padiyur, the way you pronounce it, near Erode, and a smaller mine in Vaniyambadi, both in Tamil Nadu area. And we were the suppliers of the precious beryl, which they say at one time was more expensive than diamond to the Roman world. And today, Brazil is the world's biggest producer of beryl, but those days, America was unknown, and Padiyur or Padiyur, which has been mentioned in Greek and Latin literature as Paunata, was the chief supplier. Now, this was part of the tour. I just brought it to kindle your interest and maybe to whet your appetite also. What is it? It's a sponge cake modeled on the obverse or front side of the only coin of Julius Caesar ever found in South Asia, and it was found in Tirupur, right in our backyard. Because the moment I say about this topic, whether in India or even in the US, students and all others, the public, even scholars, the first question, when you talk of the Roman Empire, names which come to your mind would be Augustus, Tiberius, Nero, and of course, most important, Julius Caesar. When I say Roman coins were found in many parts of South India, the first question often asked is, was there any coin of Julius Caesar? Mostly it's a negative answer, no. The trade reached its peak under Augustus and his successors, and we believe, as per history, it reached its zenith during Tiberius, early 1st century. Julius Caesar, as you all know, ruled before them, before Augustus. But the trade began much earlier. Such a long distance, brisk trade cannot start or end overnight. It began in the 2nd century BCE, what was then called the Roman Republic. It did continue during Caesar's time. He did encourage the trade with the East, but it began to flourish more only after his death. But then for a long time, we said there's no known recorded. Many coins were lost, stolen, melted all through the history. So it's not what the coins I studied or what has been documented in books are only a fraction of the Roman coins brought to India. But then, till now, we used to say no recorded evidence, but around 20 years ago, Someone discovered, it was a chance discovery in a farm near Tirupur of a Roman silver coin, and it was sent, because we all know, at least I have studied some Latin, I know a bit of Roman coins, but still I rely more on those who studied Latin and who are specialists in Roman coins in the British Museum, London, or in the US. And we sent a photograph of the coin to them, and they confirmed it's an authentic, genuine Julius Caesar's coin. And the coin was in a private collection. We tried to acquire it, but then before that it was lost. But so all that we have is a not so good photograph of it, which I'll show you shortly, and that's the only record. It's a coin of Julius Caesar, minted in Africa, which was part of the Roman Empire then. The Egypt area, Africa, was part of Rome at that time. So he minted it in Africa in 46 BCE. And all those things that you see here, let's not go too technical. They are Padariyar Chinnangal, priest symbols, like the jug and so on. And they had some religious or ecclesiastical value. And so that one side represented the royal bust, the other side had these priestly symbols. And so we designed, as part of the intact Roman trail tour, when we start from Chennai, the tour, in the train we serve this cake. And so it's a cake modeled on a Roman coin, on Julius Caesar. This is the only photograph of the coin ever available. You know, many coins are lost. They are smuggled out. All those negative things are there. But now things are... in Nagapattinam, they discovered a hoard of Roman copper coins. A huge hoard. They were copper, of course. And they asked me to examine it. I identified it for them and requested them not to dispose it off, but to wait, and I'll make a good museum in Delhi or somewhere. Within India, you can sell it. It's not illegal, not outside. And we'll make a museum in Delhi or Chennai, purchase it from them for a fair value that the poor family in the village does get compensated. But before, they felt that they were not willing for that. So they earmarked a few coins for the person who brought me to their village, and 5 coins for me, and rest of it they wouldn't even divulge what they did. And later I learned they sold it to a local dealer who melted all the coins and made a huge veneer tavalai, a hot water vessel out of the Roman coins, and they said it was a good high quality copper vessel. It was very sad. You could not argue with them or convince them that they could have got a far better thing with more publicity and mileage for their village and their family if the National Museum had purchased those coins, negotiating a fair deal instead of the local dealer. Anyway, that's how things get lost. Now, what we say, intact and others, public awareness, heritage awareness, sensitivity, they are not wrong at all. They were afraid the police will catch them. They have discovered it in their soil. They are lucky people, and they have not done anything illegal. But it was so difficult to convince the semi-literate people that police is not after them. We begin the tour. It's the river Periyar, which joins the Arabian Sea. And somewhere on this coast, the Romans first arrived. There are many ports mentioned in Tamil Sangam literature and in Latin literature, but we have not identified most of them. Pattanam has been excavated for many years now, with all the controversies that it has thrown up about its location, identification, and the authenticity of the finds discovered there. Now, most scholars do believe Pattanam was a legendary Muziris port mentioned in Tamil poems Ahananuru and other poems, and in Greek and Latin literature. So, whether that Muziris was Pattanam or slightly north or slightly south, that hardly matters. It was somewhere here. And from, this is all part of the same area, Kottapuram, Pattanam, where we used to walk as part of the tour. And it is still famous for its spice market, pepper and other things. And this is a memorial pillar put up by the local ruler around 100 years ago, that he has preserved the place, which is good. There's a fort there, which is of medieval period, Portuguese times. So only the name Kottapuram they say after Kottai or the fort. And it is a good instance. I put this photograph often. Long before Archaeological Survey of India became famous, and long before government started taking interest in heritage, our local rulers, they did encourage archaeology and preservation. Whether it was the Nizam of Hyderabad or the Tanjavur Maratha king or even the native rulers of Cochin and Travancore, they did make efforts to preserve and restore old monuments. So did the Chora kings, so did even the Romans, who wanted to preserve things built hundreds of years before them. So preservation is not a new thing today. Maybe their technology was different. I won't say ours is more advanced. I would say it's more different. Anyway, this is Pattanam site. A discovery of a rare Roman ceramic, which we call the terra sigillata, stamped pottery with some stamped designs on it from Pattanam. Muziris is Pattanam or somewhere close by. Now from Muziris we come eastward. This is a cave called El Cave, a very small one, where they discovered Roman coins. It is near Guruvayur, not too far from Guruvayur, between Guruvayur and Tiruchur city. And there they discovered Roman coins right from the Roman Republic 2nd century BCE up to the 2nd century CE. Coins ranging in date of around 300 years, a very long time period. One of the biggest hoards of Roman coins found in Asia, famous as the El hoard, discovered around October 29, 1945 by a banana farmer while digging his soil. Today, most of the coins, they were recovered successfully from the farmers, and they are housed in the Tiruchur museum there. And also it's the only bimetallic hoard of Roman coins in Asia. All the other hoards are either gold coins or silver, or rarely copper. This one has both silver and gold. Next, this is the museum where those coins are housed. There are a few on display. Most of them are in the reserve collection. Some Roman pottery discovered in the same area. Beads, garnet and other semi-precious stones, which were major items of trade, discovered in the archaeological sites in that area, of course strung together by the museum curator for display. Some more Roman lamps have also been discovered in India. Romans were famous for their lamps of different kinds. Some of them were made of mud or terracotta in a very artistic manner, and we have discovered fragments of such lamps in many sites in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and the biggest lamps in Arikamedu near Pondicherry. This is the Palghat Pass. The fort came later. The Palghat Fort, which you are very familiar, is of Tipu Sultan's time. But then the fort has a history to tell. Palghat Pass was one of the rare passes or breaks on the Western Ghats, which the Romans discovered that they could cross the Ghats without having to climb up and down if they could travel through that comparatively narrow corridor. And the present day town of Palghat is part of the Palghat Pass. So Palghat became an important corridor for the Romans and other foreign traders to travel from Kerala to our part of the country. And it continues to be the same vital corridor. The train route and the highway also passes from Tamil Nadu to Kerala through this region, Palghat alone. So Palghat became the hub of Roman trade throughout the period of the trade, and the heaviest clusters or concentration of Roman coins in the whole of South Asia is in and around Palghat. because of the Palghat Pass and its strategic importance for travel and trade. Now to a few photographs of the coins themselves. Of course, some of the best photographs I could get are photographed in the museums abroad. That's a big story because when the colonial powers came in the medieval period, coins found, Roman coins which were discovered in Pondicherry went to the museums in Paris, Musée Guimet and even the Louvre, which was on the news for wrong reasons in the last few days. Even the Louvre has material from Arikamedu, Sutukeni and other places which were part of French India in and around Pondicherry. And Roman coins found in many places in India reached the British Museum, London. You know why. And Roman coins found in Goa, where they would have gone? They are found in museums in Portugal. So if I visit those museums, I'm able to photograph those coins found in our own backyard. Anyway, and also one more thing, the permission is more forthcoming from those museums, from our local museums. The rules here are stricter and the quality of the photograph is also better there. So unfortunately, I like to project the photographs of Roman coins found in India, but from museums abroad. Anyway, this is a Roman gold coin of Augustus found in Pudukottai in Tamil Nadu, now in the British Museum. The Pudukottai Raja, it was a native kingdom. He was very much a lover of British things. And one king even married a British princess and so on. And so this is a Roman coin found of Augustus found there, now in the museum. He gifted it to the museum. Another coin, again of Augustus, silver coin. This one is found in Budinattam, in very close to our place. Again, another coin obverse. This is of Tiberius, found in Budinattam. And now we are in Vellalur. And Vellalur is famous for many things now, but it was the hub of the Roman trade at that time. And from this Roman amphora piece found in this region, now again in the British Museum, a fragment. And this is a broken local pottery modeled on the Roman amphora, what we call conical jar. It's not Roman, it's Indian, but modeled on their conical amphora of Romans found in our own place. It was there in the Coimbatore Archaeological Museum. I'm not sure whether it's still there because sometimes it gets shifted to another museum. It was found in our own place, one in Avinashi and the other in Vijayamangalam. And then we are in Kodumanal, trekking the hill. You all know of the Murugan temple in Kodumanal, near Kodumanal. And of course, there are other things there. It's a major archaeological site where we have discovered a lot of things. It's almost the midpoint between the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, between Malabar coast and Coromandel coast. And we have discovered Roman coins and so many other things in Kodumanal, excavated for several decades by a team of archaeologists. Many of them, again you can feel proud, were born and brought up in Coimbatore. Just 2 minutes more, I'll be quick. This is the temple in near Kodumanal, and this is the excavated site in Kodumanal. This is a money box found in Kodumanal, made of terracotta or mud, now in a school museum in Erode. But why I'm putting it here? When you opened the box, you had Roman coins inside. Beryl stones found in Kodumanal, now in the school museum, Kalaimagal Kalvi Nilayam School Museum, which is part of our heritage intact tour when we do the tour. A terracotta head with some Roman influences found in Erode, now in the same school museum. Karur, heavily built industrialized city, not much to see, except we have discovered some ruins on the bank of the river Amaravati, and we have discovered many Roman coins there. Arikamedu, the most important Roman site in South Asia, the biggest, the only site in South Asia to have yielded pottery bearing inscriptions in 4 languages. Tamil, the local language, not at all surprising. Old Sinhalese, the language of Sri Lanka, indicating the side's trade with that island nation. Prakrit, language of North India of the ancient times, indicating Arikamedu's contacts or interactions with the northern part of India. And of course, Latin, indicating the side's trade with Rome. All 4 language inscriptions are found here. Many of those pottery pieces are in Pondicherry Museum, but Arikamedu artifacts are found all over the world. Musegume, Louvre, British Museum, Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, Fitzwilliam in Cambridge, museums in US, and in many museums in Southeast Asia also. Some more stunning photographs of Arikamedu and the site, the harbor ruins of the ancient times, medieval period ruins but built with bricks of the Roman period, all in Arikamedu. A single brick, just to show you a close-up view. Colorful stone beads recovered from the site. So beautiful, a mother remarked when she shows this to her 3-month-old infant, he stops crying. It's so colorful. Roman medallions found in South India in a damaged condition, the reverse of the same. Again, similar such works of art. Roman glass bowls, but in fragmentary condition. We draw them in dots to show you how they look like when they were not broken. Roman terracotta lamps from Arikamedu. I have already told you. Another Roman imitation amphora. This one is from Arikamedu. What I showed you was from Coimbatore area. Somehow I put more pictures for Coimbatore because it's your region. And they came right up to Mahabalipuram and Salvankuppam, where also we have discovered many Roman coins and Roman artifacts. And finally, the tour also ends. They came to Mylapore, and this is the Santhom Church, where we end the tour. And we have discovered Roman coins in Mambalam. They say at one time, Mambalam or T Nagar in Chennai, the real estate price boomed because people thought if they buy land there and if they start digging, they may get Roman gold coins. And we have discovered Roman gold coins in Ooty also, in Nilgiris also, all over. Of course, the peak was Pollachi, Vellalur area. And this is the Madras Museum in Egmore, which all of you would have visited. Visit it once more to see the Roman coins and Roman pottery there. And now it has the credit which I keep on telling, and they have loaded that information on their website also. It's the only museum outside Europe to have the largest collection of Roman artifacts anywhere outside Europe. No other museum outside Europe has as many Roman coins and Roman objects as this museum. That's because all the discoveries in pre-independence India, when telegraph lines, railways and roads and hill stations were being built, all the Roman coins accidentally discovered in Vellalur, Palgad, the states were not there. Kerala, Karnataka was not there. Even Bangalore coins, everything went to this museum. So it's a treasure trove of Roman coins. And in many of my books on Mahabalipuram, Nilgiris and Tanjore, the Roman contacts with those respective regions have been outlined, including the one on Nilgiris when they were building the hill station right in Ooty and Bishopstown. Even while building the Nilgiri mountain railway, they have discovered a Roman coin of Claudius and Nero. Of course, the Romans, the trade continued. They went further east, but then I've already exceeded the time. That should be the theme of another talk, another day, maybe in another festival. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We request Shri Abhishek ji to please felicitate Dr. Sethuraman.